So I thought I would take a minute today to talk to you about some of my favorite farm trees, why I like them, what they're useful for, and again, this is kind of area dependent. I live in Missouri, mid-Missouri, and so these trees are kind of close to my heart, and kind of tell you what I use them for. So right behind me here, we've got this is a mulberry tree, and this time of year, it's early June through the summer, puts on little berries. So this one's kind of just a special treat for me. Also great for shade. They're actually a cousin to a tree, from my understanding, that we are going to talk about here in a little bit. And I will disclaimer, I've never used this one for post material, but I've heard that it makes pretty decent post material. But I have a hard time cutting them down because these mulberries are absolutely delicious. And if I'm looking for my help, usually he's sitting in the shade under one of these taking a break. So love these trees. They make good shade. We've got a couple really big ones back over the hill. I don't know, they get up to 40 to 60 feet tall, I think is what I've read. These are red mulberries. They're sweet. They provide great shade. They're a pretty hardy tree, and really like them. Now, I'll get you a close-up here so you can kind of identify them. These berries on this tree, there's some black ones up there. That's when you know they're good and when they're ripe. But they have this, I don't know, puppy dog shaped leaf on them. And there's the little white berries there. That's the immature berries. So like I said, they make great shade trees. They're delicious. I've heard they make okay posts because they're a cousin to a tree we're going to talk about in a minute, the Osage orange. But very beneficial. I'm pretty sure that you can eat the leaves on them, make teas and stuff. I don't get into I haven't really ventured into that and tried any of that. So, but love that tree. This right here is a cedar tree. Now, most of the time they're a pest, but if you get them in the right spot, cattle love them. They use them for shade. They use them for rubs. They've got kind of I'm actually allergic to them, so I'm not going to rub on them, but they've actually got an oil on them that'll, I guess it kind of coats the cows' backs, helps as an insecticide. So especially right now in the heat of the summer, you often see the cattle, they'll brush along them, knock the flies off, rub that oil on them. If you've got a little grove of cedar trees, like I said, they're a good tree in the right spot. Most of the time, you know, I spend cutting them out from fence rows or mowing them down. They also make pretty good posts. Now this is a red cedar, and they put on blueberries in the fall, but they have a red heartwood to them. So if you're going to make a post, you want, I think, at least a 4x4 heartwood. So this little tree here needs to get quite a bit older. They've got to be pretty old to make a post that lasts a long time. Now I'm on a rental farm here, and we do have quite a few of these cedar trees as posts, but we just honestly don't have as many of the older mature trees that make good posts around anymore. So they're good posts. If you find the right tree, they make good shade. But they're kind of a pest too. So there's a give and take to each one of these trees. If you look at this big tree here, you could probably get several posts out of this one. They take quite a bit of work, and like I said, I'm allergic to them. So I usually just feel like I have the flu after getting the chainsaw out and cutting them out of a tree line for a couple days. But maybe a mask would help me. But you could probably get several 8-foot posts out of that one. This is probably an old cedar post. They don't last as long as a couple of trees we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I've seen some 50, 60-year-old line posts out of red cedar here that work pretty good if you can find the right tree for it. A couple of trees here behind me. Disclaimer, I'm just a farmer. I've never logged anything or done anything, but black walnuts, they're worth a little bit of money, I hear. And so, you know, they don't provide a lot of shade, and you got to have the right ones to make them worth good money. But if you're going to plant a tree, you might as well plant a tree that's going to make you money. So do a little research in your area if you're going to plant trees, and kind of see what, you know, the thing that I'm kind of looking for now, if I need shade, I want shade fast. And so the red mulberries, black locusts. So these are a bunch of old black locusts around this old homestead here, and they've got shorter thorns than the honey locusts. And the good thing about the black locust is they do make good posts. Now, honey locusts have these great big thorns. Now, you can get thornless varieties, but sheep and cows will kill them, right? So you have to protect them if they don't have natural protection. For little trees, you're probably gonna have to do that anyway for whatever you're planting. But your honey locusts, they'll get great big thorns on them to kind of protect themselves. The sheep will nibble at the bottom and do those kinds of things, but in my experience, if they're growing natural, honey locusts tend to do a good job. And then once they get big, they can handle quite a bit of cow pressure, quite a bit of shade. They're a legume, so they're putting nitrogen back into the soil around them. They can get out of hand. Now locust trees will shoot up through the roots, and you know, they can get out of hand just like the cedar trees. But the black locust, to me, because they're a multi-purpose tree, they make posts, they make shade, and they're a pretty hardy tree. That seems to be the way that I would lean if I was going to plant some locust trees. So black locust trees, like I said, make pretty good posts. The honey locusts, I did try that. I've heard bad things about them. Yeah, they lasted like a year, and they were rotted out. But there are some thornless varieties that you can get, but you'll have to protect them until they get big enough to withstand the deer and the cows or the sheep or the goats or whatever you're putting in with them, because they're going to rub on them if they don't have those great big thorns. They do have a little bit of a feed value, I guess. It's kind of negligible for me. It's not a lot. You know, take that for what it's worth. If you got a small acreage and you're wanting to plant some honey locusts, you know, eating the pods and stuff, you might get some value from that too. But for me, it's not much. So the black locust, most of your fruit trees are going to kind of be that way for me, like your nut bearing fruit trees. I don't know, are they fruits? Are they nuts? I don't know. Acorn oaks and different things. They just take a lot longer to grow, and so I don't, you know, they're good trees. They'll be worth something someday. But for me, when I'm wanting shade pretty quickly, or wanting to do something long-term, posts. I'm not a wood guy, so I'm just a farmer. Black locust, good. Cedar in the right place, okay. Wrong place, very big nuisance. Locust the same way. The mulberries, they're tasty, so I don't mind them as much, but I haven't tried any for posts, so that's where we're at. The way that from my understanding, the way that you identify black locust versus honey locust, the main thing I look for is those the thorns. Even all little honey locusts, they get real big thorns. Anything over an inch, usually a honey locust. The black locust, you could tell by the leaves. I don't exactly remember what the trick is there, but they seem to me to be a little bigger and fatter, and maybe not as many of them on a branch. But check out a tree ID video for those. There's a lot of good ones out there, but I like the black locust. And then I'm gonna go see if I can find one of my favorite trees, the most useful trees, the hedge tree, the Osage orange, the Bodark, whatever you want to call it. There's a give and take to those two, and I want to share that with you as a caveat if you're going to plant them. But as far as posts and lasting and, you know, longevity, just being a tough tree once you get them established, the Osage orange is the king. So here we go. So you're gonna have a little light reflecting off of me, but this is an Osage orange tree. One of the easiest ways you can tell is they have there we go, a little bit of orange on the bark on the mature trees. These are the hedge apple trees, right? So they put on a big fruit about the size of my fist. They're green. Now the caveat with these is they can choke cattle. Cattle will eat them. They'll eat them whole, and sometimes they'll get stuck in the throat. And the way that I've heard you take care of that is with a big hammer or a board, and you just have to break it, or take them to the vet. Maybe they can get maybe a garden hose down there and push it on through. But knock on wood, I haven't had it happen. My dad has had some that have had issues with that. When he was a little kid, his grandpa made him take a sledgehammer out and break them all up. It's not something I worry about too much, but it is a possibility. The deer love them, the animals love them, the birds love them. I've got a video last year. I was over on this farm, and the squirrels or the birds or something had just gnawed through them in the wintertime. They're a great source for your wildlife. But this tree right here is the post-making tree. They provide good shade. They're pretty hardy. They stand up well, these trees here. The cattle just live under these when they're in these paddocks, and they take some pretty good abuse and still keep going. Like I said, they're a super hard tree. Native Americans used to make a lot of their bows with them in this area. You know, just a great all-around tree. There's some old wives' tales about, or wise tales, however you say that, about taking the hedge balls in the house and putting them in the winter. I remember my grandma used to have me put them on pie pans around the basement to keep the spiders out. It does not work. In my experience, you know, your experience may vary, but these trees they're good. They're pretty hardy. The birds will spread them around, but they don't seem to be as much of a nuisance as some of the ones we've talked about before, the honey locust, the cedar trees. They have little thorns on them, especially the little trees. So I've got some of these growing in my pasture and you know, around, and so they do handle a little bit more pressure early on, and I think that's one of the reasons they make such a good tree. They kind of protect themselves a little bit. And I just remember one more tree I want to talk to you about, but I don't want to drive all the way over to it. So another little tree that I actually got this confused with a lot until the last few years was our native Missouri plum. So we have a little, it's puts on a little orange fruit, orange or red, and I'd never seen them before as an adult, but now that I've seen them, I've got a few of them around, and they're okay. They're not real sweet, but they're kind of neat, and kind of a neat treat, fun to pick up with the kids. And you know, anything that's you know, gonna provide shade and gonna provide enjoyment to me, the kids, you know, anybody working with me or whatever, anybody that's out here can just, you know, have a little snack and enjoy what God provided is it's really cool for me. So I don't have any pawpaw trees or anything that I've ever found around me, but all those things are cool. I don't know that I'm going to spend a lot of time planting them, but the trees that we're talking about today, they're multi-purpose. You know, I'm not saying it's not just as cheap and easy and labor-wise to go buy your posts somewhere, but if you got them and you need some extra income in the wintertime, or you need some extra posts and don't have the cash, these trees are the way to go. Multi-purpose for the shade. You know, so these are the reasons why I like these trees. Wanted to share them with you and share my thoughts. I have used Osage orange for a lot of posts. All these old farms, if you've got a 90-year-old tree post in the ground, it is an Osage orange. There's no doubt about it. Once you learn to identify this tree, he's going to be your best friend in the post making world. I'm not saying metal or fiberglass isn't a better option in today's world, but I still think it'd be hard to beat Osage orange for post making for the long term. So hope this video helped you guys. If you have any questions, or if I missed any of your favorite trees, or you've got trees in your area you think are cool, leave a comment down below, leave your questions down below, like, subscribe, follow for more. We sure appreciate you.